So the question is, how many times per week should I train jiu-jitsu as a white belt? So this question, what I think comes along with this question are a few other thoughts that are probably worth clarifying. One is the question, how many times per week should I train in order to make sure that I am making the most effective use of my time or making the most progress possible on a week-to-week basis without overtraining or without breaking myself down beyond what I can recover from. And then on the other side of it is sort of the question, how many times per week should I train? Maybe I have a busy week or something and I'm not sure if 1 time a week or 2 times a week is going to actually be useful. Should I just skip training altogether? And so my thought on that is you want to organize your training so that it is always enjoyable and sustainable. Because if you are able to sustain some schedule, doesn't matter if it's twice a week or twice a day, you will continue to get better. If the practice is sustainable and enjoyable, then your curiosity will allow you to continue to learn whenever you're in class. Sometimes people they'll train 4 times a week for many weeks, and then something comes along and they only come in twice that week, and they kind of get down on themselves because they had developed this expectation and this habit of training 4 times per week. So if you only use number of days per week as the metric by which you decide how you're going to get better or how you organize your training, there can be a couple pitfalls in there, such as you're going 4 times a week and then you end up dropping down to 2 for whatever reason and you kind of get discouraged. What I would say instead is let yourself have a minimum times per week that you know you can make. That might be just 1, that might be 2, that might be 3 times per week, and then you allow yourself to go up to whatever number makes sense to you. So that might be something along the lines of, I do twice a week and I make it twice a week, rain or shine, whatever class it is that I can make it to, I get twice a week. And I end up usually doing 4 or 5 classes a week, but I'm not holding myself to those 5 because I know that, let's say you have a really busy work schedule and your schedule fluctuates, you're not always going to be able to make it to those 5. Give yourself the 2 as the minimum standard, and then the extra 3 as extra time that you're just making further progress. It's not the baseline for you, but it's extra. And then also remember that number of times per week is not necessarily a good measure of progress, or it's not a guarantee of progress. It just is an easy thing to quantify and to check off as done or not done. So it's easy to say, I did 3 times a week, or I didn't do 3 times a week. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they were a productive 3 times per week. If you got injured each time, or if your attention was so scattered because of other things that you didn't actually pick up on something, then obviously that's not going to be that great of a use of your time. Instead, I would, instead of measuring days per week, is to actually measure the progress you're trying to make in terms of, I've been working on this specific position and making sure that when I'm here, I do this thing that my coach recommended. So let's say it's closed guard and you're working on getting out of the closed guard. You're going to measure progress by every time you were in the closed guard, did you create the support position properly? Did you turn your biceps out, straighten your arms, knuckles in the armpits? Did you do that every single time? Okay, maybe no. So maybe the first time that week, you've remembered to do it like half the time. And then the next class, you were, let's say, 75% of the time, you created that support position, good to go. And then let's say by the end of the week, you were at 80, 90%, creating that support position properly without even having to really think about it. That I would say is good, measurable progress, and the number of times you train per week was only relevant in so much as it allowed you to contrast the beginning of the week, that 50% to 75 to 100%. And that's really the result you're looking for anyway. You're not You don't go to a tournament and then both of you tell each other how many times a week you trained and then one of you wins because of that. No, you win because of the skill you developed. So you want your metrics to be in alignment with that. So the habits you're forming and the habits you're taking away. Are you taking on the things that your coach or your instructor is recommending to you? And are you getting rid of the bad habits that can be hard to let our attention go to? A couple recommendations for you in that regard. If you're trying to move away from just how many times per week, a couple cues you can use is don't lift your hip, don't lift your butt if you don't have to, or try to keep it as low as possible if you need to. And that's something you can just keep cycling through your head as you're sparring, as you're drilling. Did I lift my hip? Did I mean to lift my hip? Did I do it on purpose? Did I need to lift my hip, and did I do it the smallest amount necessary? Because that's what you want. You don't want big, giant movements where you're lifting your pelvis off the ground. When you got your grips, did you remember to grab, twist your hand, then twist your elbow back, then put your shoulder blade down? Did you control the way that your partner's eyes turned? Did you prevent your partners from controlling the way your eyes turned? Okay, things like that. And the number of times per week that you train is just the number of instances where you practiced these habits, either making or breaking them. If you want more videos, please click below to subscribe. If you want to dive in deeper, you can click here to get a free video seminar I did of one of my favorite sequences from standing to submission. And if you have any questions or anything you want to see, please leave it in the comments below.